In 1783, a single portrait could trigger a national crisis. When Marie Antoinette was painted in a simple muslin chemise dress, the public reaction was so vitriolic that the painting was removed from display. In an era before mass media, these canvases were the primary tool a monarch used to communicate their character to the world. Inside the French court, the task of repairing the Queen's increasingly toxic reputation fell to a young, self-taught artist, Élisabeth Louise Vigée Le Brun. She was working against a century of tradition. For generations, French queens were painted standing up, weighed down by royal ermine fur and jewels, presented more as monuments of state than as human beings. Vigée Le Brun broke this mold by adopting a natural style. She painted the Queen in relaxed, seated poses and simplified dresses, stripping away the rigid protocols that made the monarchy feel distant and cold. This was more than an aesthetic choice. It was a high-stakes attempt at reputational engineering. By 1787, the public's growing hatred for the Queen had become a direct threat to the stability of the crown itself. In 1787, Vigée Le Brun attempted a rebrand with Marie Antoinette and her children. Replacing crown jewels with a baby framed her as a devoted mother. The red velvet adds warmth, anchored by a triangular neoclassical arrangement signaling moral rigor. The painting was a technical triumph, but the political climate was too far gone. The public remained unconvinced, and the image of the virtuous mother did little to quiet the growing revolutionary fervor. When the French Revolution finally erupted, Vigée Le Brun's close personal ties to the Queen made her a primary target. Consequently, she was forced to flee Paris in the dead of night, leaving her life at court behind. The royal connection that had defined her success was now a deadly liability. Her survival depended on whether her skills could secure her a place in the rival courts beyond France's borders. Stripped of her French citizenship, Vigée Le Brun successfully navigated a path through the southern courts of Italy and Austria. She was no longer a court favorite, but a refugee artist looking for work. She turned her dangerous history into a professional asset. In foreign lands, her reputation as the Queen's painter acted as a prestigious endorsement, signaling to the European elite that she was the premier portraitist of the age. Success in these new courts required more than technical skill. She used her wit and conversational charm to relax her notoriously stiff royal sitters, creating portraits that felt uniquely direct and lifelike. By treating her exile as a diplomatic tour, she earned astronomical fees and secured high-level commissions, proving she could thrive in the chaotic political landscape of revolutionary Europe. Being a female artist in the 18th century meant navigating constant social hazards. During long private sittings, wealthy male subjects would frequently stare at her uncomfortably. She devised a pragmatic solution. She told her male sitters to look up into the distance, claiming she needed that angle to paint their eyes. This upward gaze became a defining hallmark of her portraits. What began as a defensive tactic to avoid unwanted eye contact was soon adopted as a popular artistic style across the continent. Her artistic choices were often real-time solutions to the political and social pressures of her world. In 1795, Vigée Le Brun arrived in St. Petersburg. She found a Russian aristocracy that modeled its entire social life on pre-revolutionary French grace. Her first major commission was almost her last. She painted the granddaughters of Empress Catherine the Great in Grecian tunics, but the sight of their bare arms scandalized the empress. She adapted instantly. To save the commission, she immediately painted over the bare skin with long, immodest sleeves, satisfying the strict modesty rules of the Russian court. She further modified her French aesthetic for the local climate, incorporating sable linings and large shawls into her portraits to protect her sitters from the Russian cold. Survival in Russia meant balancing her famous French style with a meticulous respect for local cultural boundaries. This balance made her the dominant force in Russian visual culture. Before long, her portraits were dictating fashion, introducing the French chemise dress to the highest levels of St. Petersburg society. Her influence was so pervasive that local rival artists and other expatriates began directly copying her three-quarter profile formulas to satisfy their own clients. Over her 6 years in Russia, she produced dozens of portraits and earned enough money to ensure her total financial independence for the rest of her life. Élisabeth Louise Vigée Le Brun survived the collapse of the French monarchy by pairing her mastery of color with a strategic diplomatic intelligence that allowed her to navigate the most exclusive courts in Europe.